If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know I'm lying.
All right, so last night we had a great night of boxing. Now I know none of the fights were really high profile combatants, you know, with Erickson Lubin versus Arjuro Holmes. You know, the headline was also Emmanuel Navarrete versus Charlie Suarez. And then, of course, we ended it off with Puma Martinez versus Kazuto Ioka, you know, the Argentine champion versus the Japanese challenger. Now, these fights, again, they're not big characters, right? You know, but they were great fights. That's why I love boxing, because this this weekend was better than last weekend. I'll tell you that much for sure.
That's a fact, ain't it? Ain't it? All right then.
You know, and so we saw Fernando Puma Martinez go against Kazuto Ioka for a run back of their rematch, right? A run back of their rematch or a run back to their first fight, which saw them go in a unification battle for Kazuto Ioka's WBA title and Puma Martinez IBF. So they fought. Obviously, Puma Martinez won that fight to unify the two belts, and he had his IBF mandatory that he had to, you know, take care of. But instead of doing that, he decided to give up the belt to pursue a more lucrative fight, and that was the rematch with Kazuto Ioka. Now, it wasn't really justified because Puma Martinez won the first fight handily, but, you know, I can't knock somebody for going the money route and trying to make a bigger fight economically. And that's what he did with Kazuto Ioka. So they ran it back in Japan, and that was last night, right? And I had Puma Martinez winning pretty much in dominant fashion, man. You know, everything that Puma Martinez throws is hard and intense and strong, man. Yeah. My boxing trainer back in my amateur days, he would tell us one thing and one thing only. You know, every single punch, even a jab, should break a nose, bust a lip, or black an eye. So he would love Puma Martinez's style of fighting, because that's how he fights, right? Every punch has intensity. And now Kazuto Ioka, while he did put up a good fight, it just seemed like he was just behind and just slower than Puma Martinez, right? Everything was methodical, and it was almost too methodical, because he just didn't ever pick up the momentum until the time where he knocked him down. And that knockdown happened pretty late. It was in round 10, you know, and at that point I already had Puma Martinez up ahead on the scorecards pretty significantly, right? But he dropped him, and then he won the next round for me. So I'm gonna go pull up my notes right now and let you know how I scored it.
1 hour later.
So in Martinez versus Ioka, according to my notes, I gave the first round through the 7th round all to Martinez. The 3rd round was a swing round, could have went either way, but I leaned towards Martinez, right? Because this is how you score boxing. You go round by round, right? Not just what you think. You know, we really watch boxing right here. And then Ioka, I thought he won the first round that he won was in round 8, and then he also won round 9, and then he knocked him down in round 10. But then round 11 and 12, the important rounds, the championship rounds, I gave to Puma Martinez. So that ended up being 9 rounds to 3 with a score of 116 to 111 in favor of Martinez. Now, you know, the judges, they all scored a unanimous decision for Puma Martinez. So the judges, it aligned with the judges pretty much, because one of the judges scored at 117, 110 wider than I did. Another judge scored at 115, 112. And the other one scored at 114, 113, all in favor of Puma Martinez. So we pretty much saw the same thing, even though the point differential might be slightly different. So I think the right person won, man. Shout out to Puma Martinez. But I will say this, I would love to see Puma Martinez versus Bam Rodriguez. And he's called out Bam Rodriguez before. And we know that Bam Rodriguez is fighting Phumelele Cafu, the South African champion that's undefeated on July 19th, right, in Frisco, Texas, right? So we got the undefeated American Bam Rodriguez, who holds a WBC title, going against the undefeated South African champion that holds a WBO title, Phumelele Cafu. So I think the favorite should be Bam Rodriguez. And for me, I think he's going to win. But I'm looking forward to this fight. I'm not overlooking Phumelele Cafu. But I would love to see the American come out on top and then eventually get a unification battle between the American Bam Rodriguez versus the Argentinian or the Argentine Fernando Puma Martinez, man. I think that's a good fight, man. Like I said, even in that fight, I would lean towards Bam, but it will not be easy, man. Like I said, Fernando Martinez throws punches, everything with intensity, man. He be throwing them bams and them booms, and so does Bam Rodriguez. You know, that's why it's an interesting fight. I would say the more skillful fighter is Bam Rodriguez, but the more intense fighter, the one with more fire, it might be Puma Martinez, man. So let's see how it goes, man. I appreciate y'all rocking with me. Let me know how you scored the Puma Martinez versus Kazuto Ioka fight, man. Shout out to both combatants. But yeah, I think the right person won for sure. Y'all be easy. Take care of yourselves. Remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace. Don't forget to like the video. From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.